Warlords of Draenor didn't have the most gracious of launches.
No. It was steaming and bad smelling and bad.
Yeah.
Danger Dolan.
And on a personal level, I've played WoW for nearly 8 years. In March of next year, it will be 8 years. Eek! And I have not experienced a worse launch than Warlords of Draenor.
No.
At all. What went wrong?
Yeah. So, what they've come out and said is 2 million new people all came back to the game all at once, and they didn't expect it. And to be honest, I agree with them there, because every other expansion they've had, like, let's say, like 100,000 people come back.
Yeah.
Or people have just remained subscribed. And now, obviously, they're incredibly overbearing marketing on every website ever has paid off, and the free 90 and the TV ads, it's all done really well for them. They weren't expecting it. Compounded.
Can I add to that?
Yep. Yes, go ahead.
It also wasn't Miss Pandaria.
They didn't pull lore out of their arse, yes, indeed.
Yeah, and that, I mean, what I mean by that, without being as facetious as I possibly can be, is, Warlords looked attractive. Mm-hmm. Warlords, I think, got people excited from BlizzCon 2013. It certainly got my juices flowing. When I saw the BlizzCon when they announced Mr. Pandaria, I thought someone's taking a fucking piss.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was being punked. It was big at the time. I thought they were just like, I was like, what is this shit?
Yep.
But when they announced Warlords, it was just like, oh god, it looks like we're getting back to World of Warcraft again. Mr. Pandaria didn't feel like World of Warcraft. And I think that, obviously, by the drop-off rate in Mists, it was clear that a lot of people thought it was dog shit, and it was dog shit. And, Warlords of Draenor was suddenly saying, hey guys, look, we can actually do WoW. We promise you we can do WoW again.
Yep.
So I think that was a big tease.
Yeah, they definitely went back to their roots there. I was in the crowd at BlizzCon, and the screaming was intense.
Saw your question.
Yeah, it was nuts, and people really dug it. Now, some of the reason also why they had a better launch is it might be because they had no new class or race, and every other expansion they've had that, right? So all the kind of casual players would get in and play the level 1 new class or character, and a lot of raiders, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to level up my main, they're like, screw it, I'm going to level up a monk from 1 to 90. That didn't happen this time. So now everyone had a free level 90. They were automatically boosted to max level. Everyone was waiting at the dark portal, all standing around, crashing servers 24/7. And there was...
But that's it. Who in the meeting had the balls to actually say, sorry, can I say something? Sure. Why do we have the whole of every server at one single point?
What is Encourage?
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And even if they could just say, because I will add an addendum to this, because we've done this before and it done fuck shit up. but they still... there was that cringeworthy interview, didn't it? They got some footage from an interview from one of the Blizz employees. I can't remember which one it was, where he says, we learn from our mistakes of past launches. And this is before the launch of Warlords of Draenor. And then he just had the worst clusterfuck of a launch ever. because 10 million people all in the same bloody spot on the server.
They tried to fix it like really quick. They saw the EU launch and how much of complete stinking turd that was. It's like, well, we want to do the same with the US, so they started opening up different ways to get into Draenor. Yeah, that was all right. But here's the thing, right? After they had the brilliant idea of having everyone standing around at the Dark Portal to get into Draenor, someone thought it was a good idea to have like the initial starting zone all in the same zone, like both factions. There was no faction split until you get to Frostfire Ridge and Shadowmoon.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole point of having different starting areas for different factions so that you wouldn't have this clusterfuck of a launch. And then they had every single person zone in to the starting experience at Tanaan Jungle. And that just didn't help matters. So
no. Do you know a couple of funny things about that?
Yep.
Number one, because I did extensive beta testing Warlords of Draenor. They only ever did one intensive stress test. And that was the Tanaan Jungle event. And it crashed the servers. And they actually tweeted out when they did it, ho ho ho, we're gonna crash the servers. It would have been nice, this is just throwing a suggestion out there, it would have been nice if they ho ho ho'd fucking fixed it. But they didn't do any other stress testing though. It was just this one major stress test on the Tanaan Jungle event, and they crashed it. They crashed the servers. So they knew what was going to happen. They knew the kind of expectation levels of what the numbers coming through, or what was the required numbers through that were going to crash the servers. And even when you're on a beta server, there's so few people compared to live. They obviously have to factor in, right, so it's going to be like this to a factor of 100.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, nothing done whatsoever. And I was ridiculously lucky. I got through the portal straight away.
Yeah, I saw your live stream.
I was on my own for so long. I was like doing the Tanaan Jungle event on my own. And I think I got to like the just after the Kargath event in the arena that I saw my first person. I was like, oh, there's somebody else here with me. Somebody else has got through the portal. It's crazy. So, trust me, I got the apathy for the people that couldn't get through.
Everyone else is stuck at the Q boss. Like they couldn't even get past it.
But then, let's push this. But then, garrisons. Nobody could make a garrison.
Garrison zoning. Oh no.
So you got bottlenecked trying to get to Tanaan. You got into Tanaan, and it was all fucking doodah in there. You then split up into Frostfire Ridge and Shadowmoon Valley, and then you all got bottlenecked because the garrison quest didn't work.
Nope.
And was there any stress testing in any of that? No.
It was even worse because the entrance to the garrison was bugged out, so that some people just got stuck between the garrison and Shadowmoon, and they couldn't leave. Like, I actually got stuck for a second before I heroic leaped out of there, or a mage could blink. Some classes don't have that option. They were just stuck there for like hours. That's a fun intro experience. That gets everyone excited for the game. Fucked up zoning and not being able to play. That's cool.
And then you had the people that would get kicked out and they couldn't get back to Draenor. Because they hadn't progressed, because the way that it operated, they hadn't progressed it enough for it to say, right, you're at Draenor now. And it wouldn't, for some reason, because they completed the event in Tanaan Jungle, it wasn't letting them go to the portal or something. It was doing something really weird that was actually just locking them out in Azeroth. So, it was unreal. It was diabolical. I mean, it even got on. We have a program here in the UK called Watchdog. And Watchdog is one of these consumer programs that pinpoint cowboy companies, how they're ripping you off, people that, tradesmen who always rip you off, and all this kind of stuff. And they actually featured the World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor lore. It was unreal. And the most funny thing was, these people hadn't a fucking clue what they were talking about, and half the information they were giving out was incorrect. So for somebody who was a WoW person, I was like laughing my nuts off. It was just like, we're giving this game a bad name, and actually we have no clue what we're talking about, and all our numbers are wrong.
You were paying $60 for a queue simulator. It's like,
yeah, but it's just like they go to actually get a couple of consumers to talk as well.
Yep.
So they go to Joe Retard, and Joe Retard's there like, yes, I was unable to play the World of Warcraft for at least 45 minutes. I think this is disgusting. And it's just like, they got the biggest window lickers. They got 2 of them, and my God, they had a window in each hand, and they would say a sentence and then stop to lick them before carrying on. And it was just like, oh God.
They probably did get some normal people, but they just cut them out. They're on the cutting room floor, like people who were like, yes, I know World of Warcraft. I have a level 90 warrior, and I do stuff, and I do raids, and I'm quite well versed in the game.
But they're talking like somebody had shot the dog. As if Blizzard had kicked down the door to the house, shot the dog in front of the baby, and then defecated on the body, and then walked out. Oh, it was disgusting. It was disgusting. Never again. And I think, actually, these 2 people that they had on the Watchdog program were returning players, people that hadn't played WoW in years as well. I had coming by and played for years, and I thought it'd be good to try it, but never again. Buy some shampoo. But it's just like, that's how bad they got, though. They actually got on a prime time BBC One TV program with a bunch of complete misinformation, but it still got on there. But oh my, if it's getting that sort of publicity, but let's face it, Twitter was melting down.
Yep.
With Warlords of Downtime, wasn't it? That was the hashtag that was trending.
Yeah.
Which wasn't great, but they were working their asses off to get it.
Yeah,
right.
they mentioned that some of the responsibility for the not being able to get into the game was from a DDoS attack. That's a nice vague enemy to say caused all the problems.
One of my streamers said, and I think this is such a great phrase anyway, because I love watching CinemaSins videos on YouTube, and is the Deus Ex Machina, and I think a DDoS attack is going to become gaming companies' Deus Ex Machina. That's what it's going to become. It's going to become the all fixing. It's going to become the ultimate excuse now. And it's just whenever something goes wrong, we got DDoS.
Yeah, it was the cyber terrorists. They caused your goal to not reach a character in the mail within an hour. Yeah, sure.
And that's what it's going to be. But the DDoS attack was very quickly rubbished, wasn't it? It wasn't rubbished as it didn't happen. It absolutely happened, but it was rubbished very quickly by people as a big contributing factor.
Yep.
To the problem, and Blizzard actually had to come out and say that, didn't they? They actually had to come out and say, it's not all the problem is the DDoS. That's not all the issue. There's actually other stuff as well.
Didn't help matters,
Yeah, but it just didn't help. We're just saying it didn't fucking help. Yeah. That's all. I mean, but this is it. Having done the beta, the beta wasn't simply tested enough for a start. There was not enough proper stress testing, and in actual fact, they kept quite a bit of content out of the beta as well, probably because they wanted to surprise people with it later and stuff. And there were tweaks made to content that was on the beta that we never got to see until the live version. When I made a big point of saying stuff about the daily quest that you got in the garrison on the beta was horrible, grindy rubbish. But suddenly when it went live, it wasn't actually that bad. They made quite a few tweaks to it, which made it quite good. But this is the problem. They never tested stuff out. World bosses, we'll bring them in. When the world bosses were released, fucked everything up. and again, world bosses weren't put on the beta. To be tested. So they had no idea how it was going to work when they actually came in. I think there was the world boss in Spires of Arak appeared every now and again, but Drov, he didn't appear as a world boss really, and the other one, I can't remember what it was, they didn't either. So they really had no idea how stuff was going to happen, how it was going to react, and as we saw, shit done fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what happened is, I think the reason they took so long between Siege and getting this expansion out, mostly garrisons. They obviously had a few other problems with adjusting stats and crap. That would have taken a little bit of time. But yeah, like they just I guess at the end they just wanted to stop testing every single thing and just get the expansion out, which is fair enough. I mean, it had been
I think they had to. I don't think they wanted. I think they had to. That was the problem.
Like the fact that they had to reduce the server size because of like all the DDoS attack and so many people logging in at once, and it's led to more queues. It made the casual players, the kind of people that they when a new game comes out, they play it for like 1 or 2 weeks and then they drop it for the next new shiny thing. So they would have quit after the whole queue stuff, and they'd probably be too fed up to try again. And you think about all the effort Blizzard has put into the expansion, and all the hype leading up to it, and all the BlizzCons, and all the marketing, everything that would have costed them so much money to do, all of it nullified by the fact that the servers just didn't work for the release date. That's really crap. But
this is what they were being accused of, wasn't it? They were being accused of being a little bit apathetic because they'd be like trying to factor in the drop-off rate. People were accusing them of that, saying, you're not doing work to fix this because you were totally operating off, we'll get a drop-off rate of X% after a few days anyway, so if we don't have to get our servers up to full capacity because of that. But I think a lot of the returning people's issue was, when I left the game, there was 12 million subscribers. When I came back to the game, there was 7.5 million subscribers. How are the servers worse when there are 5 million less people playing? You can kind of understand that logic. You're sort of like, that is actually a pretty decent. That's a pretty decent argument there. When we had 12 million, yes, there were queues on high-level servers, but definitely not the sort of level of queues that we saw on the launch. But how is everything so fucky with millions less players? Millions less players.
Well, it's pretty obvious based on that WoW documentary that they showed at BlizzCon, where they were just like willy-nilly just taking out server blades and like, here's the server Tichondrius. Have a look at it. Like, put that fucker back in. We're playing on there right now. That's not fair.
That's a world server down, you shit.
Yeah, so like, just imagine like all the parties and shit they would have in that room, the server room, spilling coffee on stuff. Like, that's probably the reason why we get like, it was a DDoS attack, and like, they're wasted because they've been partying in the fucking room all night, spilling crap and nachos and stuff on the server blades. And meanwhile,
I can't find my tray. Just use one of the servers. I know, but the thing is, why don't they learn? Why do they never learn? Isn't it 101 basic? This now, when you fucked up so many launches in the past, isn't it kind of like basic stuff to say, do you know something we probably shouldn't do next expansion? What's that? Fuck up the launch like we've done with all the others. So, you think that's kind of about one of the things that are paramount to them?
That'll be like the keynote of the next BlizzCon. It's like, okay, so we've removed reforging again, and we've also pledged not to fuck up the launch as much as we can. And then they cancel it because they love doing that.
Yeah, but like I said, you got that guy saying, we learned from previous launches, and then you just do the worst pissing clusterfuck ever. It just, I personally think there is massive miscommunication within Blizzard. There are telltale signs that there is some serious mismanagement going on in that company. Because you can see loads of really hard graft work at sort of like at base level. Not saying they're grunts or anything, because they all get they get paid very well and stuff, but you can see like the floor guys and girls are working their asses off, and then you see on the communication levels, it's all fucking all over the place, and the communication comes from the management structure, which means the management structure is all over the place, and there definitely seems to be, with so many things going on, especially with tweets going out saying one thing and then another tweet would come out to contradict it from somebody else, and it's just like there is just so poor communication in that company. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't matter how big the company is. If poor communication is poor communication, but it just doesn't surprise me that stuff like this actually just goes fucking unannounced, unnoticed. That nobody seems to say, do you know something? It's probably not a good idea to have the whole server in one single point, because that'll probably pull it all down. Shouldn't we have, alternative alternative methods to do this.
Well, that's like the child's voice in the like board meetings, like the one that says, "Actually, maybe that's not a good idea," and everyone else is like, "What? I just want to make this thing that I had an idea for, and that you guys should probably agree on." It's like, well, the player base doesn't think. It's like, well, fuck the player base.
Well, if you are no longer, if your first priority is no longer being beholden to your customer base, you're already fucked.
Yep.
If you ask me, as a as a company, if your primary focus no longer is customers, and in the case of Blizzard, shareholder base, where it's about profit now, just purely generating as much profit, then you're never going to provide a good service. Never, because you are not putting the focus of your customer first. You're just putting the bottom line first. You're putting the profiteer. And there's so much. I think there's a big debate in the UK recently about profit being a dirty word, and the Prime Minister of Britain said it's not a dirty word. I think profit, to a degree, is a dirty word. I think that corporate companies nowadays are becoming so obsessed with higher profits via cutting costs here and cutting costs there, that it just affects everything. And when you put that to like a video game company like we've got now, and where their product is actually an MMORPG, if you are not looking after that customer first, if that is not your first driven drive within the company, it's not going to get better. It's not.
Yeah, I don't want to get off into too much of a tangent there, but I do think it's a shame that they've kind of reevaluated what kind of games they make, from the big budget, super cool ones to tiny ones like Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm. Like, that's their new focus, and
don't forget overhype.
Yeah, overhype.
Sorry, Overwatch.
So, like, I can see that they're kind of interested in the fact that they're so successful, and whereas the big titles are, they're kind of bleeding money in some areas and that kind of thing. But
they're bringing out MOBA. This kind of goes all the way back to what I was saying before. They're bringing out their attempt at the MOBA marketplace with Heroes of the Storm, and they're charging £9 for a skin. We got League of Legends and Dota 2 and Smite that are like £2 or £3. It's just nuts. Profiteering. It's all about profit now.
There's definitely an argument you can make for like the Blizzard store and the fact that you got a subscription model and you should be entitled to all of this stuff anyway, and it's just more money on top of it. At this point, it's pretty obvious what's going on there. And I think with the communication, I think it was Ghostcrawl that kind of started the whole tweeting about different aspects of the game, and now all the other devs are doing it. I can certainly appreciate that they're more open with the player base. Someone made an interesting argument on the forums recently, the official WoW forums, that you should probably bring this information, like about no flying, to the official forums instead of going to somewhere like Reddit. I can see that. I like that Blizzard are supporting fan websites like that. Good on them. Like that's awesome. Not a lot of companies do that.
You can have it all on different sites. You can have the same information on different
pretty much.
sites,
Like,
though.
I mean, MMO Champion do a good job of like taking the information and kind of condensing it. Like, just do the same on the WoW website. Like, you've got plenty of...
tweeting's so dangerous because you've only got 140 characters.
Yeah, they've said.
And so you can't get the information out correctly, and then you've got people trying to respond to the fact that they can't get the information out correctly, and they've only got 140 characters. So it does become a bit of a slagging match, because that's all you can put in 140 characters. We're not going to do this. Well, fuck you. Well, and there you go. There's your tweets.
They just need like a standard of ethics when it comes to what information you can put on Twitter. So vital information that affects every player in the game, that probably shouldn't be on Twitter. You should be talking about little things, the stuff that doesn't really matter that much. I mean, they're already doing that, but they kind of mix it in with like having huge announcement on Twitter, like Twitter of all the places you could announce, this shit. Twitter is not exactly the ideal place. I mean, in a video interview with a website or a YouTuber, that's fine, but a tweet, no. Like, you make an official post detailing in very specific terms things that you think about the situation. Although last time the community manager law did that with the capital cities, that didn't really end well. But at least, yeah, we have
because you had information in a proper capacity where people could properly respond to it. That's why I think all these information should be blue posts. End of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fine, put it on other forums, but it's got to, as a base, it's got to be a blue post. Absolutely got to.
Back on topic with back on topic with the WoD launch. I remember when Star Wars: The Old Republic launched. That was pretty smooth considering they've only got like 1 or 2 million people at the time. But the difference is, even though they had a smooth launch, they had bugs that were considerably worse than in WoW. WoW is relatively polished, but they had bugs that would just break the game instantly. You had a bug where you couldn't finish a quest. You had to finish the quest to continue questing through the zone. You had to just sit there and open a ticket or whatever the equivalent is in that game, and then just wait for someone to respond and help you out. So that was awful. So, props to Blizzard for not having a lot of that. The only time I saw that was with the garrison, and you couldn't zone out of it. That was, that wasn't cool. But the rest of it, apart from the queues, relatively alright. And as a bonus, J. Allen Brack did an apology and gave us 5 days free time, game time. That's fine with me.
Which I thought was fair. Because I personally thought they were going to give us 3 days. So when they came out and said they were going to give you 5 days, I thought that was actually fair.
Yeah, good.
Because I don't think the game was broken for 5 days. I think it was broken for about 2 to 3 days. And then of course you got a little bit extra. But if we're going but there again, let's look at another MMORPG which launched this year in April, Elder Scrolls Online, and that didn't exactly have the most auspicious of launches either. It was pretty dreadful. But the game was pretty dreadful. But everything was, quests that were broken on the beta for that game were still broken on launch. But they had the stupidity to come out and say before launch, we are several builds ahead than the beta, and it will release bug-free.
Sure.
They said it will release bug-free, and if we look at Warlords of Draenor's launch compared with how Elder Scrolls launched, was Warlords launch worse? At the inception point of launch, yes, but Blizzard had it fixed in 2 to 3 days. Elder Scrolls Online was broken. A lot of it's just completely broken for a long time after launch. And I think when I did an As Chats video about Elder Scrolls, and when I left within the first month because I'd had enough, I think I'd opened up something like 57 tickets. 57 tickets! I don't think I've ever done 57 tickets in 8 years of WoW. But I had 57 freaking tickets on Elder Scrolls Online. We've just broken, and it was not like petty stuff. It was like, this is broken and I can't proceed. And they go, well, I think I got an answer back actually saying, one of the answers, this is true, one of the answers back was, why don't you just not play for a few days? What it was like, why don't you not play for a few daes,
but then still give us money?
Log back in, it might be fixed. And another one was, why didn't you start a new character in another zone? There were two, honest to God, there were 2 legitimate pieces of advice given to me by Cinemax Online for their shit being broken. So at least you don't get that kind of nonsense from Blizz, but they fixed it quick. I mean, it was terrible launch. We can't deny that. They did fix it pretty quick. It's stable as you like now. We had the wobble with the world bosses. They've just got to sort a few things out. If you're gonna have a beta test, fucking test. Don't be afraid. Test it properly, because there was too much stuff, in my opinion, that just wasn't even looked at on the beta.
Well, they did do a post on Reddit about how nothing can possibly prepare them for an expansion launch. I guess that kind of makes sense.
More servers would.
Yeah, I think I don't really understand what it is with MMOs and just like having a certain number of servers, but they don't increase that number exponentially for a game launch. Like, just do that, and then everyone you had on those new servers, just merge them with some other server. I don't know how easy that is, but like, the alternative is you have thousands and thousands of people in a queue, And that's not fun. That is the opposite of fun.
No. Now, I when I was doing my live stream on the launch, I was legitimately heartbroken for so many people that were tweeting me pictures saying they are 4,600 in queue, 3,800 in the queue, and it was, you know, these people were like really excited to play, and you could just see the. It's not the anger; it was the disappointment which just broke my heart. It's just like, you know, I would rather somebody be angry with me than disappointed with me. You know, I'd rather somebody shout at me, "You're a twat, you're an idiot, you did that wrong," and he could go, "Oh, all right, yeah." But somebody to turn around and just go, you know, I'm just disappointed, and it just breaks your heart. And yeah, next expansion, to be honest with you, we'll probably have the same problems.
Yep. What are you going to do?
I don't think it's something that's ever going to get better. I think it's something that's just how quick can it get fixed?
Yeah, like my advice to people, do exactly what I did this expansion. Just before it launches, switch to the lowest possible pop server, level up, reach max level, wait a week, and then transfer back, and everything should be relatively alright.
I mean, I left Silvermoon, which was like the most populated Alliance server, PvE, in Europe. I left Silvermoon to go to Thunderhorn, which was dramatically less, because I actually wanted to play the game at launch.